I just feel like talking. Because that's all this is. That's all this fucking is. Sometimes I get real wound up. Sometimes the insight is so great and there's such tremendous clarity, and it's like I have to say something. I have to let this through. It's not me saying it. It's just there's just stuff coming through, and it's amazing feeling, and there's so much confidence. And then so much of the time there's just nothing. There's just nothing. And I can go from experiencing, and I recognize this is just how it works. This is just the flow, at least currently for me, because we don't learn balance in still water, and we don't learn competence without feeling doubt, and how to actually stabilize in that. And so the flow for me, which has been for a while and continues to be, is I'm in this place of profound peace and security that is just so deep and sure and removed from anything on the surface. And it's just beautiful. And then sometimes something happens, but more often than not, nothing actually happens. There's not even actually like a triggering event in the physical world. It's like there's just this sudden surge of fear. There's just this sudden wave of fear that is so immense and intense that it's choking. It's like someone put electrodes on my heart and it's just frying me from inside out. And I swear that the fear comes first and then the thoughts. I don't know. Maybe there's a thought that I'm not aware of that's catching me off guard. But a lot of times I can see fearful thoughts and recognize them, and if I'm in the place of stability, they don't bother me. But it's like then something just just bowls me over. And it just feels like a wave of fear out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. I'm standing tall, I'm feeling relaxed and open. And in my relaxed openness, this fear just barrels through. And I'm just realizing how terrifying this existence feels to a part of me. How terrifying the truth of reality is to the part of me that developed to exist in this world. How for this part, it's much less scary to make up a story that gives it the illusion of control. That's a lot less scary. What I'm doing now is facing the fear that this part of me has. It's so terrified to accept the truth of reality, which is amazing because accepting this truth is actually the return of power. It is the return of control over my experience in a different way. It's accepting the truth that everything is always taken care of. Accepting the truth that I am complete, everything is complete, all we're doing is playing here. That every moment is changing and is different. And that's wonderful because it's alive. That means it's alive. If it stopped changing, it wouldn't be alive. And all of the change is growth. It's good. It's beneficial. It's expansion. It's evolution. It's improvement. It's growth. All of the change is growth. And so every moment I am growing, everything is growing, and everything is getting better. That's the reality. But it's so terrifying to this part of me, which I would call ego, but even I get tired of using that word. It's convenient, but ultimately limiting, like all words are. And the reality of the experience can be usurped by the limited nature of this definition. Once the label is applied, it's like boxed in there, and you lose something. You lose some of this connection to the reality of that experience, of this thing, of this part of self that is small and scared all of the time. All of the time. And that has developed this story to sort of shore itself up, to make itself feel better, which is in fact a diminishing story. And it's fascinating that it doesn't want to accept the truth of reality, because even though the truth of reality is that I am in this position of ultimate power, that ultimate power requires it to give up the illusion of control. True control means giving up the illusion of control. And the true power that we have is in total trust. It's in trust. It's in allowance. It's in this knowing that this trusting, really, ultimately, that whatever happens, I'm all right. It brings emotion. That whatever happens, I'm all right. No matter what happens at the surface level, no matter what it looks like, no matter even what it feels like, that at the deepest level, I am taken care of. I continue to be well, and that I am deeply loved. And it's knowing that that is true, whether or not it's being demonstrated, reflected in some particular way up here. It's knowing that that truth and that experience persists and is within me and is accessible and is able to be my experience, is permitted to be my experience at any time, again, regardless of what is happening at the surface, not to the exclusion of it, but including that. And it's just so scary for this for this ego, this life form, to accept that it isn't needed, to accept that everything that is by desire, to accept that nothing can be relied upon, nothing can be counted on to stay the same. In fact, it can't stay the same. Nothing can be expected to stay the same. It finds that utterly terrifying. Because then it's all unknown. It's all uncertainty. Nothing is predictable. You can't predict, you can't count on something to be the same from one moment to the next. You cannot expect details. What you can do, the only power you do have, and where all of the power is in trust. Trusting that the details don't actually matter. But that you are taken care of. And that what you desire at the deepest level is true. And that it doesn't go away. That what you want is the experience of security, the experience of abundance, the experience of well-being, the experience of loving and receiving love. And that those experiences continue to be for you. That they will grow, that they only grow. See, this thing, it's so convinced that everything is dying, that everything is entropying, that it's descending into disorder and disarray and decay. That's what it believes. That's the story that it's told, and that in order to prevent that, it must be in continuous effort. And that as long as it is efforting, as long as it's working, then it's keeping things in order. And it's keeping things alive, essentially. That it takes effort to keep something alive. To keep itself alive, to keep love alive, to keep relationships alive, to keep security alive. That it takes effort to stay alive. It takes effort to maintain the experiences that are desired and the feeling of that experience which is desired. And all of this effort, as long as it's efforting, then it can be sure that it's able to keep what it desires. But here's the thing. Effort is exhausting. Effort is resistance. Can you imagine if you thought it was your job to keep your heart beating? This is what it's doing. It is so confused about the world and the reality of what is, that it believes its role is to keep your heart beating, in essence. And that every moment it's working to do that. And that it has value because of that. That's where its value lies, is in the effort that it puts forth to continue the beating of your heart. And so if it were to give up that effort, well, I mean, it would all fall apart, wouldn't it? If it were to stop, if it were to, even for a moment, to stop working to make your heart beat, then all would be lost. You would certainly die. Life would end. All of the desired things would end, and it would totally lose any value that it had. It would be an utter failure. It would have failed you completely. And it would be saying, I knew I couldn't ever do it. I knew it was just a matter of time, and I've been trying for so long, but I just couldn't do it anymore because I'm weak, because I'm weak and I'm selfish and I'm pathetic, and it would berate itself the way that it does. The way that it does for becoming exhausted by continuous exertion, which is only natural because exertion is against the flow of the universe. Certainly continued exertion, maybe brief moments of it, sure. But sustained effort is against the grain of what is. It is against the flow. To be continuously swimming upstream, you will become exhausted. That is how it works. And so here we are at the point of exhaustion for ego, for this experience of this small manufactured character of self that believes that it is keeping it all together, that it is keeping you safe, it's keeping you alive, it's keeping everything that you desire around, and that if it stops, everything is lost. It all crumbles. But here's what's actually happening. Just like this thing trying to keep your heart beating, it never actually was. It was never actually doing that. It thought it was. It was certainly making a big show, putting forth a lot of effort, expending a lot of energy to maintain this illusion, such a good illusion that it forgot even itself that it was one. The illusion that it was keeping you safe, the illusion that it was keeping you alive, that it was keeping everything happening, that everything that was happening was because of it, because of its efforts, its struggle. The struggle to stay alive, that you continued to be alive because of that struggling. And now it's tired and it can't continue anymore to keep up the motion that it's been in for so long, trying to keep your heart beating, in this analogy. But really, and it's being shown some things. It's at a critical point of transition here, because here and there it has gotten so tired that it could not continue the task, and it gave up, and it was ready for the heart to stop beating, but the heart kept beating. The heart kept beating without its effort. And that raised a lot of questions. That was more terrifying than anything else. Because that meant that all of this effort, everything that it was doing, that it thought it was in control of, all of it was a dream. All of it. That it never had control. And that all of this struggle, which it derived purpose from, its sense of self, its sense of security, its very sense of worth, its value, derived from this struggle, from this exertion, from this attempt to control what it believed it was controlling. All of that was an illusion. And so, all at once, in the revealing of what is, even though the revealing of what is that it doesn't have to fight anymore, is that it never had to fight, it's so much more than that. And it is a stripping away of everything that it had, everything that it believed in, everything that it thought it was. For this part of self, for ego, to finally have a clear view of it and what it's doing, and to realize, to be shown that it's empty, to be shown that there's nothing there, to be shown that all of the work was meaningless, and the value that it thought it had didn't exist. To show it that it was never needed. That's a terrifying thing. Not to be needed. If it's not needed, it has no power, it has no control. If it's not needed, then why is it here? If it's not needed, then how could it be loved? This is what it doesn't understand. It doesn't understand that need and love were never the same thing. That the illusion of the control that it thought it had was never control, and was never empowering. It was never liberating. It was only ever an imprisonment, actually. And so it's faced with this new reality, the truth of what is, that it really doesn't want to see. It wants to, and once it sees it, it would very much like to go back to sleep. It would very much like to unsee. But you, of course, can't unsee it. It would like for you to go back to sleep. But you can't. And so there really is only one choice now. It's to feel the fear and choose to trust. It's to acknowledge and accept that yes, everything is changing. But if I go back down this path, the path of fear, the path laid out for me by this part of self, this imagined life form, this ego. If I go back down this path that is full of fear and need and control, it's excruciating now. What was perhaps a tolerable degree of suffering before, because it was largely unconscious, is not tolerable to consciousness. It is excruciating. And to travel down that path, even briefly, is so exhausting. The resistance is so great there. It takes so much energy. That the choice really ends up being made for me, either now or pretty soon. Because I either choose to trust now, or I choose not to trust, and I exhaust myself to the place where I don't have the energy to do anything but trust. I don't have the energy to maintain a state of resistance. I have to trust. This is what it is. I can put myself in the place of resistance that is fearful and that is saying everything is changing and it's all getting worse. It's all going out of control. If I don't put forth effort, if I don't try to keep it the same, if I don't work to control the direction that it's moving in, then it all falls apart. I can go down that path. And I find myself there still over and over. And it's terrifically unpleasant. And I cannot sustain it for long. Fortunately, I see that happening every time I'm there. I realize even as I'm there, it can't last for very long. It can't be, I don't have the resources to sustain that anymore. I become quickly exhausted if I go that way. If I travel away from the present moment. If I travel into thought, into analysis, into comprehension and narratives and all of that, projecting into the future, projecting into the past. Going there hurts. It just hurts. And it shows me over and over that this is the only place where I can feel good. If I want to feel good, I have to stay here. If I want to stay here, I have to trust. And it's not a punishment. It's not like I'm being beaten into it. This is what it is. This is the way it works. It's not a punishment any more than swimming upstream is going to be hard on you and exhaust you. This is the lesson. The lesson is if you go against the grain, you get tired and you don't feel good. And if you just surrender and you trust and you stay in the flow, you stay in the present moment, which means trusting the unfolding, trusting the unfolding of it, then you feel good. Then here's the peace, here's the joy, here's the relaxation, here is everything that you were even looking for out there. It's all right here. But to be right here, you have to trust it. You have to stop trying to get away from it, and you're only trying to get away from it because you don't trust it. and we get it. It's scary to ego. It's scary to this part of self that has told this other story for a long time. That it's not safe. It's not safe to be here. It's not safe not to be thinking, not to be planning, not to be active, proactive. You know, we have a whole society, thousands of years of human society built on this. Preparation, planning, understanding, analysis, manipulation, trying to control, trying to prevent things, trying to keep ourselves alive, struggling to keep our hearts beating, instead of trusting that the heart keeps beating. And that even if and when it stops, because this is a form, and it is changing, that even then we're okay. That even then there is not death after that. There's just more life. It means totally letting go. You can't carry half a burden. It's the whole thing or none of the thing. You can't halfway drive this cart. You have to give up the reins. Totally. And then every time you find yourself picking them back up, you got to put them back down again. I'm not telling anybody this isn't me trying to tell anyone what to do. This is me expressing the way that I experience it, that this is what it is. I keep picking up the reins. I keep thinking if I just, I'm not, just like a little adjustment, and it's okay. No, I'm not doing, it's just a little. No, it must be total, and it must be continuous. That's it. And I'm not like berating myself. This is a practice. This is a practice, and it's a continuous practice. The only mastery is in practicing this continuously. That's it. Continuously trusting, taking nothing for granted. Taking nothing for granted. Knowing that nothing is the same, nothing can stay the same, even moment to moment, it's changing, but trusting that it's not spiraling out of control, it is growing. It's getting better. It's evolving, it's expanding, it's getting deeper, it's improving. Trusting that everything as it's changing continuously is only improving. It's only getting better. This heartbeat is only getting stronger. And trusting that no matter what it looks like, no matter even what it feels like at the surface level, and it is increasing vulnerability. It's not a one and done vulnerability. Oh, my heart's open, I'm here, I'm ready. It's a continuous opening. There's more opening. It's like your chest is splitting wide open, and when you think it's gone as far as it can go, it keeps going. And you're like, how is there more? I thought I was done. How is there more? How can I be more vulnerable? How can I feel more fear? How is there more of this heart to open? Because because you're infinite, because there's always more, because there's always a deeper level. There's always a deeper fucking level of trust, which means a deeper level of fear. And that's the practice, to just keep going with that. To say, I reached the plateau of trust, and now there's more fear. And there's more fear so that there can be more trust. And then there's going to be more fear so that there can be more trust. And then more fear. And then more, it just gets deeper. It is a continuous practice. It's conscious expansion. It is deliberately allowing the expansion and feeling it presently with full awareness, feeling yourself expand. That is a remarkable, a liberating, and a terrifying thing. It's terrifying. And I think I'm understanding now that this is never not terrifying. Of course, fear and excitement, they're really the same thing. So, with some time in this practice, I believe that it can, I know it does become more exciting. It's already right there. But again, they're the same thing, fear and excitement. So I don't know if we ever we don't get away from fear. You know? It's just the deeper the trust. I mean, I feel like the waves have to get bigger, right? If we're getting deeper in this trust, if we're plunging more deeply into trust, then this is physics, and all of this is physics. Then according to amplitude, the peak has to be higher for that trough to be deeper. If we're plunging more deeply into self, into trust, then we've got to have a higher peak of intensity the other direction. It's got to be a bigger wave to bring us deeper into being. And maybe we get to a place where we really are so sunk into being that we experience the waves differently, or that they change altogether. I don't know. That you reach a point where you feel like you really, because you can always go deeper. So this is where I don't know. It seems to me like you could choose to step out of it. You could choose to, oh no, my squirrel friend is here. How do you know my car? I fed the squirrel a couple times and it was a mistake, but it's just so cute. I don't have anything for it. It's totally derailing what I'm doing, but it doesn't matter. Hi, are you right there? Did you go? Where did you go? Oh, I can't see it. Okay, it's gone. I think I went under the car. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know that it ends. I know there are people like Eckhart Tolle who talk about you learn to embrace the uncertainty and the unknown, and I think that's possible. Certainly, that it becomes maybe more exciting, and maybe the excitement is more intense. And so maybe it's not so much fear. It doesn't have that pang that, but I feel like there's got to be a little bit of it in there, because you still have to trust. Like, the other side of it is the trust. And if there's not fear, there's not faith. Like, there has to be a leap. There has to be a leaping. And the leap can be exciting, but I feel like it needs this kernel. Like, even if it's just a tiny kernel. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I'm just feeling this. That, like, the fear needs to be present for you to make the decision to trust, for that choice to be available. To say, yes, okay, I choose to trust this. That moment where you go, okay, here we go. Where you just lean in. And then, yes, it does become exciting. Once you choose to trust, it becomes exciting. But I feel like in order for the choice of trust to be there, that there has to be at least a little bit of fear. I don't know. And then maybe we get practiced in making that choice. So it becomes more natural, but we're making it consciously. It's a conscious choice. So it gets easier to make, but it's not exactly automatic, because if it were to become fully automatic, it would be unconscious. And the whole point is we're growing consciousness. Anyway, all I'm saying is I'm not Eckhart Tolle. And I am not in the place of apparently seamlessly, easily, just continuously trusting no matter what all the time. I don't know. I don't even know if that's his experience, but that's what it feels like. I mean, the guy seems so rock solid. And that's a big part of why I want to be documenting this, is just to be like, I want to be real about what this is like. I want to be real about what it means, what the experience of continuously trusting means. And to me, it's not the erasure of fear. It is viewing fear in a different way. And it doesn't mean the fear waves go away or they get less intense. They get more intense. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. And it's not any easier for being in a partnership. In fact, it's more rewarding. It is certainly more gratifying. And I think the growth increases because the fear increases, because the vulnerability increases, because now you're doing this in full view of another, not just another being, but another being that means something to you. And learning to trust that, to not take that for granted, to feel the incredible feelings of someone showering love upon you and you reflecting that back to them, and then hear ego go, oh my God, we could lose this. We don't want to lose this. Do whatever you can. This is where the transactional, behavior that is automatic and that we've been trained into for a long time tries to surface. It goes, okay, we don't want to lose this, so we're going to become needed and we're going to work. And we're going to work to maintain this. And that's how we ensure that this carries on. And that's not love. That's not love. It's control, it's manipulation. And if I really, really respect and love my connection with myself, my being, and I really love the same for this other person, who is also being and experiencing an individual version of their connection with presence, then I gotta do this. I gotta keep trusting. I gotta keep being present 10 times more intensely, 100 times more intensely than I could get away with on my own. I gotta be more aware of when the egoic compulsion to control arises. And I gotta face that fear and let it go and trust and say, it's okay. If this person decides tomorrow that they don't feel the same, that they don't want to do this anymore, then I have to trust. First of all, I have to trust them. I have to trust that I'm okay. I have to trust that this is not the end of love and my experience of love, that I am still well, I'm still loved, I'm still taken care of. I have to accept that that's not within my control, and I don't want it to be. That the whole magic, the whole beauty of this is that it's not forced, that it is entirely free and natural and organic. I have to accept that that's a possibility, that I cannot take for granted what another person feels. And so I appreciate it more every moment. I have to accept that it doesn't belong to me, that it's a gift, and that it's freely given and it's freely received, and that it doesn't have a time limit of any sort, that it simply is. It could come and it could go. But to stay open, here's the really challenging part, to stay open in that, not to shut it down and say, well, it was nice for a while, but I'm sure it's going to end and that scares me, so I'm just going to end it now. I'm just going to close off. To stay open, to say this feels good and I like this and I would like it to continue. I would like it to continue. I would like to feel more of these feelings and more of this connection, which again, I'm aware has to do with my connection with myself and your connection with yourself, and then our sharing in that connection together. I would like to do more of this. This is pleasing, and I want it. And to hold it in that space that is want, not need, because I'm accepting if it goes away, I'm okay. But I'm also accepting that I do desire it. I do desire it. And so I am trusting that it continues. And I'm trusting in a way that is general and open and accepting. I'm trusting that any specifics of this desire are taken into consideration, but they are specifics really that still having to do with the emotional experience of it. And so I'm not defining, I'm not putting details on it, I'm not trying to control the details. I'm trusting that it unfolds and it evolves and it gets continuously better. It becomes more, that it is not a thing for me to control and to drive in the direction that I think I want it to. It is for me to say, I love this and I love you and I want this to unfold and to grow and to breathe naturally. And I feel the fears around that, but what if it goes this way and what if it goes that way? And that's where I have to let go entirely and say, I trust that my desire is tended to, that it's known, and that all of it unfolds perfectly to the mutual satisfaction of both of us. Because that's how it works. Because that's just how it works. Because my heart just beats. It beats because I want it to. It beats because I want to continue the experience of living. It beats in precisely the right way to support that, in a way that I could never predict or control. And I trust the unfolding of that, just as I trust the unfolding of this, as I trust the unfolding of everything. That I don't have to write it down in infinite detail, and I don't have to drive it. I trust that it is what I want, that what I want is known with such clarity and precision, even greater than this mind can comprehend. So trying to know it, trying to comprehend it with this mind is pointless. And that it's not for me to do, it is for me to trust and receive. And I know that no matter what, I'm okay. No matter what, I'm okay. I am taken care of, I'm well, I'm loved, I'm secure. But also that everything I desire is unfolding for me, and that everything is getting better. Everything is improving. I don't have to struggle to keep it going, to keep it alive, to haul it in. I just breathe and I trust. And I do that over and over and over again. I'm in this moment and I trust. And I'm in this moment and I trust. And I'm just here. I'm really just here. That's it. I'm not doing anything. I'm not looking for anything. I'm not fighting against anything. I'm just here, trusting that everything is evolving in a way that is delicious and pleasing to me. I don't have to control that. I don't have control over that. I just trust that it is, because that's how it works. And the desire gets bigger, and as it gets bigger, the fear gets bigger, and as the fear gets bigger, there's a bigger opportunity for bigger trust, deeper trust. And I just keep doing that. That's it. I just keep doing that. Being here and trusting. Trusting myself to be here, being here to trust. And that's all I have to say. I trust that it is all really continuously well and only growing more so. With specificity, with detail that I can't even possibly know. Detail that will surprise and delight me. I trust that. And my only choice, my only role, my only power is to keep trusting, which is always a present moment decision, a conscious decision. And so that means I keep staying conscious. I stay conscious. I make a choice to be conscious and a choice to trust. And I just keep doing that. And I keep doing that. And if I find myself out of it, I choose it again. And that is the whole practice, that is the whole path, that is the whole journey. It doesn't go anywhere. It's the journey of staying right here. Of trusting right here, right now. Because you can't trust anywhere else. Trust is in this moment. You can't trust in the past tense. You can't trust in the future. You trust now, and you trust yourself to be now. And you trust the whole of this moment unfolding right now. That you don't need to try to be anywhere else or do anything. It's just being here, letting go, saying, okay, I'm here. I'm here. I trust. That's it. That's all I got. And that's all I'm doing. I love you. Take it easy. You are safe to be where you are. Trust.